The US has been a global technology leader since the second industrial revolution, and many key inventions that have shaped our life have been produced in America. As a result, many people have a mindset that the United States is far ahead of other countries and it's impossible for others to catch up. Let's take Huawei as an example. In 2017, Huawei's investment in research and development in the semiconductor industry surpassed the United States, including investments of Intel and Qualcomm. And over the next decade, we are going to see an intense battle between America's Silicon Valley and the new Silicon Valley rising from southern China. Let's take, for example, the power of 5G technology. China was the first country in the world to launch a nationwide 5G network, and this network directly influences other important tech developments. For example, artificial intelligence. Since Huawei is the world's leader in 5G technology, the company will inevitably play a very vital role in the future of this China-US tech battle. Today's video is very important as we are just 2 days away from a new federal election here in Canada. Canadians will go to the polls and a potential new prime minister will be crowned. One of the largest questions that need to be answered is the future of Meng Wanzhou. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing a key timeline of events between China and the United States and explaining how Meng Wanzhou's arrest is at the center of this intense US-China tech battle. Let's begin. We'll start today's video with a timeline of America's changing relationship with Chinese technology. In 2015, the Council on Foreign Relations released a report entitled Revising U.S. Grand Strategy Toward China. The report indicates that China has become a major strategic competitor of the U.S. and that U.S. policies towards China should shift from support and cooperation to pressure and competition. In March 2018, Donald Trump starts a trade war with China by claiming some Chinese imports are a national security threat and responding by imposing tariffs and/or quotas on certain Chinese imports. In June 2018, the U.S. Congress begins to take actions against Chinese companies with the goal of expelling companies like Huawei from the U.S. market. On August 13, 2018, Donald Trump signed the National Defense Budget Act to prohibit the federal government from purchasing Huawei equipment. On August 22, 2018, the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York issues an arrest warrant for Ms. Meng Wanzhou. In November 2018, the Department of Justice launches the China Initiative and clearly states that ensuring 5G-related supply chain security is their goal. On December 1, 2018, Meng Wanzhou was arrested in Vancouver, Canada by the Canadian government on an extradition request from the United States. On December 12, 2018, Donald Trump was asked if he would intervene with Ms. Meng's case, in which he replied, "If I think it is good for what will certainly be the largest trade deal ever made, I would certainly intervene if I thought it was necessary." On January 31, 2019, Trump told Liu He, the vice premier of China, that Huawei's case would be discussed during future trade negotiations. On May 23, 2019, Donald Trump announced that Huawei could become part of a new trade deal with China.
It's possible that Huawei even would be included in some kind of a trade deal. If we made a deal, I could imagine Huawei being possibly included in some form of or some part of a trade deal.
And finally, at the G20 summit on June 29, 2019, Trump tells Xi Jinping that Huawei's situation was very complex. He then proposes to rather focus on trade negotiations first and address Meng's situation later. Now, for those of you who have been following my channel for the past year now, you know that I'm based here in Vancouver, Canada, and that I have made several videos about the Meng Wanzhou case. We are roughly 5 weeks away from receiving the next step in this case, and most likely will get a verdict by the end of this year. As Canada contemplates its future with China, the longer Meng Wanzhou is detained on Canadian soil, the deeper the divide between these two nations. In addition, all Canadian citizens are concerned about the status and the future of the two Michaels, and instead of this stalemate that has been going on for many years now, how is China and Canada going to move forward from these events? At this point, I'd like to recap 4 main points on why I feel that Meng Wanzhou should be released and how this is going to be the first step in a new direction between Canada and China. Let's start with the record of case that focuses on Meng Wanzhou's PowerPoint presentation given to HSBC executives in Hong Kong in August 2013. Now, there are a few abnormalities in this case. The first is the fact that both HSBC and Huawei are not United States companies. In addition to that, the meeting where everything was discussed was also in the Chinese city of Hong Kong. Again, not in the United States jurisdiction. Now, normally if there was fraud that takes place, this is the correct procedure. The United States government would sue the bank that was responsible for this fraud. In this case, it would be the US government suing HSBC. HSBC would then turn around and sue the client who was responsible for the fraud. Again, in this case, it would be Huawei. But here's where things get really interesting. Instead of going after the company of Huawei, the United States government is directly targeting a specific employee of Huawei, Meng Wanzhou. And this is why this case is so unusual. Now, the second point that I would like to bring up is the fact that HSBC knew about the relationship with Huawei and most definitely knew that Huawei was doing business in Iran. Canadian lawyers have been arguing that only junior level employees were made aware of this relationship and that senior level executives at HSBC were deceived by the PowerPoint presentation that Ms. Meng gave. However, if one reads the transcripts and the detailed evidence, which by the way is public record and available to anyone, we can clearly see that HSBC had senior level executives well aware of this important relationship. The new evidence shows that HSBC Employee 7, the business head for Huawei, was fully informed about every important issue relevant to sanctions risk for the bank. Now, if you're wondering why these black boxes appear on the screen, this is how the evidence is presented because the actual name of the HSBC employee is classified information. But let's go ahead and continue to read this transcript. HSBC Employee 7 was informed that Skycom operated in Iran. Huawei controlled Skycom. Skycom was linked to Huawei's HSBC internal systems. Skycom's parent, Canacula, was also linked to Huawei in those same systems, and Ms. Meng's successor on the Skycom board. Indeed, its only board member was publicly identified by Reuters to be a Huawei employee. In assessing the risk, she was armed with a detailed knowledge of the relationship between Huawei, Skycom, and Canacula, including slides 2, 6, and 16 of the PowerPoint describing Skycom as a controllable business partner in Iran. And this is really the interesting point. This HSBC employee number 7 signed not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different risk assessment reports that analyzed how risky it was for HSBC to be doing business with Huawei and Iran, and that HSBC, according again to this employee, should proceed. The third point that I would like to bring up is that HSBC suffered no actual loss in this case. Let's listen to Canadian lawyer Richard Kurland as he shares his insights.
Defense pointed out in all these years, since 2013, where's the civil penalties, the civil process, the criminal penalties, or the criminal process? It's not there.
This is a very important point to make because in Canada's legal history, there has never been a point where the government holds someone accountable without the presence of actual loss. It has never happened in Canadian history. And this was really one of the big questions that stood out from Associate Chief Justice Heather Holmes. Isn't it unusual that one would see a fraud case with no actual harm many years later, and one in which the alleged victim had many people who knew the true facts of what was happening?
And in this case, there's a glaring absence of any evidence, not some evidence, any evidence of wrongdoing.
Now, the fourth and final point that I would like to make is who is responsible for clearing these transactions in US dollars. This is a really important point because this is actually the only way that the United States government can actually be involved in this case. These transactions were sent through New York and cleared in US dollars. But who is responsible for making that decision? Again, let's listen to Canadian lawyer Richard Kurland.
Huawei, Skycom transferred US dollars to the United Kingdom. And HSBC took it upon itself to transfer again those payments into the United States.
Even though HSBC was aware of Huawei and Skycom's operations in Iran, it still chose to clear Skycom's transactions in US dollars. Therefore, the risks faced by HSBC were caused by itself and had nothing to do with Meng's presentation. This was an independent decision from HSBC that led it to violate U.S. sanctions. Now everyone, we've been discussing the Meng Wanzhou case for far too long now, and I, like many people around the world, truly want to see this situation resolve because, again, this is what my channel is all about. How do we solve problems? How do we build bridges? And most importantly, how do we move forward with these important relationships? Next month, on October 21st, Associate Chief Justice Heather Holmes will announce when she will release her final verdict. Hopefully, there's a really good decision that will allow Canada and China to move forward and finally bring an end to this, and hopefully brighter days ahead. Now, since I've been here on the ground in Vancouver and unable to return back to China, it's been a great pleasure of mine bringing everybody these insights, and you can bet that I'm going to make sure that I'm on that courthouse in October when we hear these results, so I can continue giving you these unique insights that you are not able to find on any other YouTube channel. Everyone, I want to thank you so much for spending more time with me here on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and most importantly, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think and what the future of this case and the future of Canada and China is. My name is Cyrus Jansen. Thanks again for your support, and we'll see you all in the next video.